What's going on, guys? Come with me today to go work on the Honda Civic Si. So what's your guys' plans for 2026? What's your car's plans? What do you guys have planned for it? This year I definitely want to get the engine put into my EG hatch. Building an F20B for it. Just needs a couple more things and it's going to be ready to be put in this year. But leave in the comments, what do you guys have planned for your vehicle? What are you guys building? So here it is, my brother-in-law's Civic Si. JDM front converted, JDM rear converted, carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber grille, carbon fiber trunk. K24 swap, K20 head, RDX injectors. Yep. We're going to do a valve cover gasket today and an exhaust manifold gasket today. The valve cover gasket is leaking oil all down the engine, onto the floor. So that needs to be replaced, and the exhaust has a slight leak from the manifold gasket. This should be fun, because the exhaust on these cars are on the back. So I have to remove this top plate here. Luckily the windshield cowl is removed since we just changed the front end to a different Type R front due to the stupid deer that ruined his fender on the driver's side, and the door still needs to be replaced because of the dent from the deer. But this is the garage that we work out of. This is the Type R bumper that we took off, and we put the bumper that's on it right now. This is my engine, my F20B that I'm building. Got a few parts for it over for Christmas, so I'm going to be putting those on in another video. Yeah, so start taking this off. Couple 10s, couple 12s. Got two 10s there. There used to be bolts back here, but I guess they're missing, or part of the windshield cowl, I'm not sure, but two 10s, two 12s. Put them right here with all the other hardware that we have for this car. This out of the way. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull the valve cover off, get this gasket changed out. I might not be able to do the exhaust manifold gasket. I did see a video on the good old YouTube. The guy was able to get up in here to pull the gasket out, but I'm thinking since the K24 sits taller, I might not be able to get to that. But we'll see what happens when we take off this valve cover. And maybe with the valve cover off, I'll have a little bit more space to get my arms back there. Oh, that's just nice. That's beautiful. Some asshole fucking stripped that out. Sometimes you just gotta whistle to clear your mind, and before you break something or get really angry about the situation, just clear your mind, do what you have to do, and continue to work on it. Don't drop your hardware. Now this is the stupid shit when you over tighten a bolt, and then you gotta cut it off, pry it off, try to split the nut. Hopefully that stud is able to be tapped. So once you get your valve cover bolts loose, you come over here, lift it up from the sides, work your way around. Don't force it. If it's not coming, there's something wrong where it's binding up, so don't force it and then cause yourself to crack the valve cover or cause any more damage than what needs to be done. I usually lay a rag across the spark plug holes just in case once the valve cover comes up it dumps any dirt or debris, so I always usually leave a rag there just in case, especially on the Honda V6 engines. Definitely dirt and grime could build up on top of them underneath the covers, so just leave a rag there, prevent any debris going down into this spark plug tube holes, and just work it around, lift it up. Alright, finally with the valve cover out of your way, once you lift the valve cover up, don't forget to remove these right on top of the valve cover and stop oil from getting around here on the valve cover. On this K-series, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. So once you lift the valve cover up, don't forget to get like a little screwdriver. I like to use the panel popper that I use for door panels. I like to use this and remove them completely, get them out of the way, because once you pop it up, sometimes they'll fall underneath the car or get on top of the subframe. So just keep count of them. Right now I have them over here. I usually don't lay them there, but just for right now I have them there. The new kit comes with new ones, so make sure you replace them. Do not be an animal with the RTV or Honda Bond. I usually just put the Honda Bond around where the timing cover meets the cylinder head, right there. One spot there, one spot on the other side. Usually around these bends you'll see the Honda Bond there. So just put the Honda Bond where the manufacturer had it. Do not cover the whole valve cover and the cylinder head. The whole point of a seal is to create a seal, so do not make your own seal. I don't know why that's such a hard concept for most people. They like to put the Honda Bond on the valve cover, all over the cylinder head. It's not going to create a better seal. It's going to cause a leak. So just put the valve cover on with Honda Bond on the cylinder head in those two spots where the timing cover meets the cylinder head and where the arches here on the cylinder head. One dab there on the cylinder head or on the valve cover side, and put the valve cover in. Make sure that the seal's still on when you put it back on, and make sure the seal, you usually get a magnifying glass, a mirror, and put it behind there and make sure that the seal's going all the way around and not pinched in certain areas. I have seen that where the valve cover has gotten pinched, causing an oil leak down the cylinder head onto the engine block, and then the customer thinks that they have a major oil leak. Meanwhile, it was just the valve cover was pinched by a prior technician. So just make sure that you work nice and neat, and no foreign matter is going to enter the engine. Now, it does seem a little bit easier to get to these exhaust bolts from here. I will attempt to try to do that. Hopefully there's enough room once I pop that off that the header will move out of the way, but there is some tight area there on the header against the body, so I don't know if it's going to give me enough space to change the gasket. I'm hoping I could just take the bolts out, move the exhaust back, put the new exhaust gasket in, and tighten the bolts. So let's see what happens. Using my 3/8 long swivel head ratchet, I was able to use the 14mm, get back there, remove the exhaust manifold bolts. As you can see here, there is a space now. I didn't fully take it off the studs yet, because I want to make sure I have the gasket in my hand so I can just pull it back, put the gasket to stop any stress going down to the other gaskets and hardware down on the exhaust. So pull it off, put the new gasket, put the header back on. I did lay the bolts there again, but just make sure that you don't hit your bolts with your elbow so they'll stay put. So whenever you work on a car, make sure that whenever you put the hardware, it's not going to fall into any critical areas. It's not going to fall inside the windshield cowl area, cause a noise. Just make sure you take account of all your bolts. I removed 5 bolts. 3 bolts, 2 nuts. They're there. Take account of your hardware whenever you take something apart. Do not put something back together and say, oh, forget about the other hardware. I mean, there is times where you have a bracket or something, that you will forget to put a 10 millimeter. Just make sure you put the 10 millimeter there. It's meant to be there for a reason, meant to keep harnesses out of the way, etc. So, got that. I'm going to change the exhaust manifold gasket now. This is the exhaust manifold gasket that I just took out. I do not like using these exhaust manifold gaskets. They always leak. The only way you can get them from stop leaking is just not use them. Get this the hell out of here. I always like using the metal gaskets like the OEM. This gasket was probably cheaper than using that one. I always use these style, the OEM style. Just invest in yourself. Save yourself from doing the job twice. I'm sure that is what came with the exhaust header when the customer bought it. Just make sure that you always use the metal style on the exhaust. It'll save you so much hassle and trouble and exhaust leaks and you know, just the aggravation. So get this. If you're running a setup or like a turbocharged engine, maybe put some Loctite on the bolts because the heat will start backing the bolts out. Maybe torque them down to spec with some Loctite and hope for the best. But the only recommendation I recommend is using a metal exhaust manifold gasket. And whoever worked on this car last and maybe have to cut this bolt and chisel it out, unacceptable. So when working on your car and you feel that the seals are very hard and stiff, just replace them. There's no reason on putting a hard and stiff seal back on the engine. It's not going to seal correctly. No matter if you put freaking RTV on it, it's not going to seal. Just replace it. The valve cover gasket you can find online, probably for a Honda, is like $20 to $40. Just spend the extra money. Know that it's not going to leak. Know that you did a good job. You don't have to go back in there and do the job twice. Just replace it. So this is my little trick on getting these tube seals out. I usually use a pair of needle nose pliers or a flat blade screwdriver, very large flat blade screwdriver like a flathead, and get in there and twist. Or with these, I just get in there between the seal, you're not marring the surface, and get it out. Do not use the needle nose against the middle. You're going to drag it and score it. Just put it in there against the seal right at the bottom lip and lift. When you take these out, look at the orientation of them. You don't want that end facing toward you. Because what happens is when you go to put it back on the car, I'll show you right here. When you go to put it back on the car, it's going to want to grab and force the seal up. And then you're going to get an oil leak inside your valve cover, causing the spark plugs to get fouled out because the oil is just going to keep dumping down in here into the tube seal. Take out the coil packs, take out the spark plugs, and then because you didn't do the job right, put the seals in correctly. When you put them in correctly and you put the valve cover on, it's going to slide onto that seal and seal it. Don't put these in upside down, please. So, when pressing in your new seals, put the valve cover on a nice flat surface. I put this gasket cardboard underneath it. I pressed in the new seal. What I do now is I usually take an old seal and another flat surface, and I just tap them in with the hammer. I did push these in by hand, but I want to ensure they're not going to pop up. So what I'd like to do is I tap them around with a hammer or with a flat surface on top, or I'll take a rubber mallet and I'll tap these in around. And no reason to smack them really hard and get them all out of shape. You're just looking to put it back into the valve cover to create a seal. It's not going to be on an angle. You want them flush, and you don't want them too far in. You want them where they came out of. And when I took them out, they were just right there on the valve cover. If you push them in too far, they're not going to create a seal. You're going to have an issue. So just put them back where you found them. Alright, with the new seal put around the valve cover, you're going to make sure that it's in there nice and flush. No issues. Tube seals are on. I usually take my finger in the valve cover, gets a little bit of oil, put it around there, so when I slide this back on, or I use silicone spray, When I slide this back on, the tubes don't get caught onto the tube seals don't get caught on the tubes, and they're easy and they could just go right on. So that's what I do. Little helpful tricks. I will let my brother-in-law clean his valve cover with some water. I usually spray him down with degreaser, but this is a painted valve cover, and I don't want to take any more paint that's already coming off of it, so we'll let him deal with that. The valve cover placed in its correct area. I like to make sure that the gasket is still on the valve cover. I just push my finger underneath it just to make sure, and I'm not taking the gasket off. I'm putting my finger in between the cylinder head and the valve cover and pushing my finger up and just making sure that the gasket's still there. Making sure nothing's in the way. This bracket harness is not in the way. No wires are pinched underneath the valve cover. I did route these in front of the tube here to keep the harness from going inside the cylinder head and being crushed. The harness back here is free. Nothing is in the way. I make sure that the tube seals are in straight, and then I push it down, and it should go home, and it's happy, and yep, that's it. That's what I do. Install your new grommets. I always like to make sure that I install the new ones. I've seen people put Honda Bond or gasket maker around the grommets. I'm not going to do that. Again, it's a seal. It's meant to seal. If you have to put extra precautionaries, I feel like it's just going to cause another leak, because what's going to happen is any RTV or silicone or whatever gasket maker you put, it's just going to either fall out into the valve cover and get into your valve drain, possibly clogging the oil pump. So I just put these on as a rubber seal. The rubber seal is going to fit around the stud. It fits around the stud and has this little hat to guide itself into the valve cover. You do as you wish. I always installed it that way. I always push them down by hand, and then I torque the bolts down with a 1/4-inch ratchet. Some guys do torque them down. 1/4-inch ratchet's perfectly fine. I've never had any issues with that. You're not going to try to use the longest 1/4-inch ratchet you have, but something that is reasonable to torque it down to what you think is the correct torque spec. You can look it up if you want. Again, I've always just tightened them down with a 1/4-inch ratchet and haven't had any issues. If you don't have a 1/4-inch ratchet, use a 3/8. When I use a 3/8 ratchet, if I ever have to, I'm not looking to use the whole ratchet. I'm just looking to use a little bit. So I'll put my hand here, put my hand on top of there, tighten it down, and then when I go to torque it, I'll just use my finger. And you should know when it's tight. If you're trying to force bolts, they're going to snap. Studs are going to snap. It's going to be an issue. Know when it's tight. These bolts on these cars, the only really bolts that I really do torque down is the cylinder head bolts and anything inside the valve train area, or inside the engine. Mostly internal stuff is torqued down. A lot of this stuff you should know when it is tight. If you're forcing yourself and putting your whole body weight, it's going to snap. Bigger suspension bolts, you put a little bit of more oomph into it, you're going to be fine. Some guys, they torque them. That's all up to you. I do not trust electric guns, so if I put something in with the electric gun, I'm definitely going over it with a handheld device. 1/4-inch ratchet, 1/2-inch ratchet, 3/8 ratchet, depending what I'm working on. Know the tool for the job, so I'm not going to put these valve cover bolts in with a 1/2-inch ratchet. 3/8, 1/4-inch is perfectly fine. More 1/4-inch to torque them down. But some guys, they tighten things down with the 3/8 guns, snap-on guns, DeWalt guns, Milwaukee. It's tight. No, it's not. I've had it where I've torqued it down and still got 1, 2, 3 turns out of a bolt, even after the gun, stopped. I don't trust it. I don't trust putting my wheels on with just an electric gun, and I'm certainly not going to freaking trust putting engines together with just the electric guns. I use these to make my life faster, taking bolts out and putting them back in, but I'm going to double check them by hand. Alright, yep. Tightened all of my bolts, put the coil packs back in, put the tubes back on, attach this harness back, attach this harness bracket back. Everything's tight, everything's good. I'm going to tighten the engine mount back because I dropped the engine down just a little bit to allow me to grab the valve cover off of it, since the engine is sitting in there pretty tight on these 8th gens. I usually loosen the engine mount bracket on this side just to bring the engine down just a little bit. I mean, this engine does have solid motor mounts on it, but trying to get myself a little bit more room. And yeah, exhaust manifold gaskets replaced, valve cover gaskets replaced. Alright, let's get a video of this thing starting now. After we changed the gaskets and topped off the oil. More exhaust leak. It's gonna burn off all the extra oil that landed on the exhaust, but at least there's no more exhaust leak. Valve cover gasket. When you got a leaky valve cover gasket, this thing was low 2 quarts of oil already from the valve cover gasket leak. So before I started, I added 2 quarts of oil. But it just shows you that, you know, leaks on your car can cause a major issue. 2 quarts low on oil, another quart, another quart, another quart, and then you're running the engine out of oil. Make sure you keep a lookout for leaks. Diagnose the leak. Make sure you don't cause another leak. Stuff like that. Little things go a long way. Keep your car maintained. Change the oil every 3,000, 5,000. Whatever your recommendation is by the manufacturer. I usually, even if my car is 5,000 miles, I'll change it every 3,500, just to make sure that I'm on top of it. Hondas love oil pressure. Hondas love OEM manufactured oil filters. Do not use any cheap branded oil filters and wonder why you're having VTEC issues and why the engine isn't running to its full potential. Spend the extra money. Go to Honda, buy the oil filter, buy the crush gasket that everybody doesn't replace, but you should buy a new crush gasket, even if it's off Amazon. Replace the damn crush gasket, change the oil, put fresh oil in there, and make your engines run good. Yeah, so guys, finish up that valve cover gasket and the exhaust manifold gasket. Couple minutes. I mean, you take your time, you do it right. You don't have to do it ever again, hopefully. On my way to go get the best pizza, I think, in the Poconos right now. Luckily it's right down the street here, and then I'll head my way home. Again, 2026, I want to do some things to my car. I want to put the engine in. I want to finish up the engine, put the engine in the car, and get it running. Probably run a base map for now. It's just going to be a simple F20B swap, H22 transmission, and I deleted the balance shafts already on that engine, so I just got to set the timing. The timing's already set. I'm just going to double check my timing tension, and I might get a timing walk blocker and install that just to ensure that my timing belt's going to be secured. Here we are at Joe's Brick Oven Pizza in Cresco. My favorite pizza in the Poconos. You got people backing up, people reversing, people in the way. This is ridiculous. But yep, this is my favorite pizza in the Poconos. It's in Cresco. It's called Joe's Brick Oven Pizza. Let me go inside. So I got my pizza, and we're on our way home.